very least. Usually I do comparative statistics, and so I'm not going to do too many of those. I'm going to throw out a few statistics in what we've been doing, but I think it's a little interesting to let everybody know what it is we have been doing and how we've been doing what it is we do. So let me move forward. And it's been a long, strange trip, right? Who knew that I put this slide up last year when we did this virtually in August, and it had only been 4 or 5 months into the pandemic. And I put the little word short in between what a long, short, strange trip it's been, but boy, it's been a long one. It's been a long one. And so I'm going to go over kind of quickly the buildings, because what Zoom has given us the opportunity to do is to reach out to people that might not ever have been on property, or that are new to the property, just joining us. And so as an overview, most of you are familiar, but for those of you that are not, we have 4 buildings on the property. We have the historic side of the building, which is the Clayton family home, the guest house and the carriage house. And then on the other side of the property, we have the research collection, which is the long brown building that you see there. And in total, we have 34,000 square feet in the 3 buildings. What we do in each house is, of course, the main library has the research collection. The Clayton house has the city directories, and that's where the volunteer hours are mostly directed into the city, into the building, letting customers come in and see the display that we have on the William Clayton family. We also have city directories. The guest house, which was a house where the Clayton family let interns live. The Clayton house was built in 1917, and Will Clayton was a cotton magnate and then also was involved in the Marshall Plan. So while he was here, he built this home, but the guest house was there for some of the interns too, the Anderson, Clayton and Company, Cotton Company. And then the carriage house also was where they keep their cars. And then at one time their horses, and now that's the meeting room space that we have. The entire research collection is in the main library. So we've got about 23,000 square feet of research books, which now you can have access to, but we'll learn about that in a little while. In addition to that, who are we? There are 8 full-time people, and we have a deep knowledge base. All of us are very specialists in some things. I do urban research. We have somebody who does New York, of course, the Southern Tier, DNA, and some other things like that, Hispanic research. But then, of course, we're all generalists. So it's important when you do come to ask us, and it's fair to ask us the same question, because we have just different knowledge base. Somebody asked me about DAR stuff. I'm in big trouble. I'm only 3rd generation American. We have Melissa, who does lineage research, so you can always ask us. And some of the things, of course, we have more than 140,000 volumes on property. I'll show you how you can access a lot more digitally in a little while. Periodical titles, genealogy magazines. If you're not using genealogy magazines, you should be. There's an inordinate amount of knowledge that you would not find in books. That's a whole other presentation. Microfilm upstairs, of course, lends itself to the stuff that's been digitized, the National Archives film, the ship passenger list, the census, of course, but then there also is unique material in the state material there. So as you go to a repository, us or someone else, one of the first questions you should ask is, what is the unique material that you can see at that location? And what is not digitized? And then microfiche, those flat things that you might remember from using. And if you don't, they're little pieces of like 4 by 6 flat sheets of paper that have inordinate amount of information on them. We have a lot of international stuff. And of course, for those of you that are not necessarily that familiar, our collection is an international collection, and we try and collect at least one thing from every county in every state. And as the example, the deepness of our collection is, there was a woman here, came and she was doing Alaska research. She found her ancestor in a cemetery book who had gone up there. So the depth of our collection and the access of knowing what we have is through our library website, which is houstonlibrary.org, and then using the catalog. Some of the changes that we've had in our staff, one of the biggest things that impacted us was Franklin Smith retiring at the end of the year in December, and away went with him his knowledge base of enslaved family ancestors, doing that research, and then of course just his humor and inordinate customer service, but he's still around. I mean, we still talk to him. He's done presentations for us. But the most exciting thing by Frank leaving and that position coming open is the movement of Mitch Clendenning from our part-time person into a full-time person. And Mitch comes to us with 26 years of TV production at Fox. So that actually has enabled us to do a lot of things during the pandemic that we might not have been able to do. And then now moving forward, a lot of activity in terms of virtual programming and a virtual presence and some other things. And he brings a lot of knowledge from the Southern Tier. And then, so that is moving us into the 21st century with that position. So let's go over a little bit about what happened. And this is our timeline. We closed March 16th of 2020, just closed. For one point in time, we had the opportunity to work from home. Probably for about 4 or 5 months, we could have. There were some of us that worked from home. Our cataloging team basically stayed at the library because, of course, their jobs were not transportable, if you will. I stayed at home for a little while. I'm too social, so I came back. Didn't work well. Doug, my husband, got tired of me going in every half hour going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then laundry started to look good, so I knew it was time to come back. And so anyway, but some people were very productive at home and did things. We did training. We did collection development. Of course, I had administrative tasks. So then what happened was in about April, I think, we decided, or we tried to figure out how we were going to provide service. Again, you're taking at what was, in the entire library system really, but for us in our world, you're taking a very customer service oriented public service person who works one-on-one with an individual in a collection that has unique resources in a pursuit that leads from one thing to another. So it's very hard to say, I want this one book. And what we actually became were, if you will, graduate assistants for individuals who were writing research questions to us. And we began to do some in-depth research, which is not something that we normally do or did. So we began to do where we were graduate assistantships. And then that went on for a little while, and it became over and over and over again. I have some statistics later on. We were averaging about 50 email reference questions a month from an average of about 17. So especially when we started promoting the email address, you could see that, family history, I say family history researchers Jones, they need to find that ancestor. They got that burning question and they're going to try and figure it out in any way we can. And how are we going to provide that service? Because after about 40 hours of library training videos, not even genealogy videos, like effective customer service and working on Word, those type of things. That, what were we going to do, when we were looking at this long haul? So then, and we'll talk about it a little, in a few minutes, but the Clayton Library Friends, in between when we started the email reference and the Clayton Library Friends started their face-to-face, because we had a meeting with Nick and I think Jessica, and I'm not who sure else was there from the Friends, but we needed to provide that contact, that service, that education that we do, the Friends do, and that we do. So the Friends came in and said, okay, we're going to do Zoom programming. We're going to do face-to-face. So that was the beginning of our virtual programming. Again, the Friends support that we can't really honestly live without. So we appreciate that. And then we, as the library, began our Zoom programming. We did the baby steps and the training wheels with face-to-face and had fun doing that. And then we began our Clayton Library Presents, our Friday programming in July. Then we began virtual appointments. That happened this was July of 2020. So then we thought, okay, how could we maybe, instead of just working with people on email, which is sort of a passive back and forth, we would begin to offer virtual appointments. So we went to Teams. The library uses Microsoft Teams. So we went to Teams, and periodically we would get people on Teams, and we would hold the books up, for people so they could see the words. And then we would make copies, and that worked out a little better. And like face-to-face, it gave people the opportunity to interact, while we were sitting at home. That worked okay. And then, so now, we just, in between our programming that we did and these virtual appointments, which basically started kind of towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year, we began as the vaccine came out and things began to change once again. The library began to open in phased operations, the overall library. The overall Houston Public Library started with curbside service, where you could put books on hold and then you went and picked them up, okay? So special collections began to operate with virtual in-house appointments. That happened probably the end of March, the beginning of April. They were limited appointments. That kind of took off a little. We had there was a woman who came from Colorado who was very excited. At one point, we were saying that you needed to tell us what books you needed because you couldn't go into the stacks because we were quarantined. So, everything was quarantining and all this other stuff. So the idea of pre-pulling your books also wasn't the best thing because, again, people want to go into the stacks. Because one thing leads to another. So we did the best we could with that. That worked out, sort of. And then after the curbside service, and then they began to phase libraries opening. The Houston Public Library began to phase libraries opening, and we opened on May 11th of 2021. So that was super exciting. Everybody was really excited. So the biggest challenge that we had was during this time period was what we do and what we had to figure out how to do. As I mentioned, that high level of customer service. It was really kind of frustrating not to be able to open up the doors to people and to not tell people that they could. Sorry, our production team in the back is making faces. And so anyway, I don't have my camera. Anyway, so, that was a big need. These were the challenges that we faced. Okay, so how did we do that? We tried to answer it through the email, through the phone, through the virtual meetings. How to maintain and continue to maintain why people can't come in the building, one of the best research collections. We continued to purchase books. We still had a budget. The Clayton Library's friends were still supporting with financially, and helping us to purchase materials. And then how were we going to get our knowledge base out to the world? Hence the virtual programming that we did. I'm sorry. I'm working on two computers. So this was the high level of customer service slide, sorry. So in the building, we were still purchasing books. Customers still wanted to search and the ancestors were still waiting to be found. So how did we do that? We began to market our in-depth reference. We began to market our programming. We were super successful with our programming, as was face-to-face. Once it took off, we had people from across the globe, really, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Again, our collection development management. When I say collection development, I'm talking about our books that we bought. We continued to buy the number of books that we do about every year, which is about 2,000 books. So now you're going to say, how do I know what books you got when you guys were closed because they're on the shelves? So we went through a web design refresh. But of course, the way the city works sometimes, we're now in a holding pattern for the web design refresh. Some of you might have noticed, actually what we're going to do is we're going to put up an Excel spreadsheet from our research page, which will list the new titles. You actually can go to the Houston Public Library website, and if you go to the catalog, there's a link that says new titles, but it limits the number. I mean, you won't see the 2,000 new titles, you'll see like maybe 100 or 150. And with the redesign, we actually have kind of lost our new book area. So we're trying to come up with a new area for that, but we have an expanded book sale area. Then we finished the first floor renovation during the time. I'll show you some slides about that. We continued to do professional development. Not only did we learn how to use Word more efficiently, we spent some time, of course, on Legacy Family Tree, on Family Search webinars, and we did a lot of that. And we did a lot of resource sharing. So in the long run, again, all the stuff that we did behind the scenes while we were closed was ultimately to provide the most highly effective customer service that we possibly can, which is what we are here for. And then, of course, we continued to produce our newsletter also while we're doing that. So we had to pivot our services. Again, from a highly customer service oriented position to what it is and how we were going to provide that service. We found that necessity is the mother of invention. All right. I think maybe in the past years, you've heard me talk about strategically plan and wanting to have a stronger virtual presence. Well, wanting to have a stronger virtual presence while working with a large city organization sometimes is counterintuitive. And the way it takes to get there can be very long. But honestly, because of the pandemic, this is something that has been realized because it needed to be done. The library wanted to produce story times. The library wanted to produce all kinds of other crafts and things to keep people engaged while they were at home. So we just fortunately, along with the experience that we have with face-to-face, fortunately got into that world. And what really happened is that we really created a team with Joy, our programming librarian, and with Mitch, and then with Justin down through HPL programming. And they really got us started, and they really produced a lot of great presentations. So we did do a lot of implementation of trying to find some things that we wanted to do. And again, the most important thing was trying to keep that interaction and being connected. So since we weren't doing one-on-one, how could we provide that service? And we know that on the shelves, we had those unique sources that aren't digitized. So again, although it was not the perfect scenario, we did the email reference. We talked to people. I mean, we were spending women, and then we didn't answer phones. That was another thing that happened. We weren't answering the phones until it was this year, I think, we started answering the phones. So that was really frustrating because the library, it was a direction from the library. They weren't answering the phones in the neighborhood library. They weren't answering the phones in the library. And then finally we could answer the phones. So all this is, and I don't know the reasoning behind it. If somebody wants to know why, I don't know why. All I know is that I follow direction, and I'm glad I don't sit in the big chair making those choices. So, and we understood that there were the unique materials, and this is a huge research pursuit. So again, we really developed the programming. In last year, in the past fiscal year, which is what I have measured, which was, these numbers are really from July 1st through June 30th of this year. We did 67 presentations, and we had almost 3,700 attendees. Those attendees came across from all across the globe. We had DNA Month in April, which brought people from British Columbia and Australia, where we did 4 DNA programs. We've had African American History Month. We've had the Galveston District Clerk. We've done nationally recognized speakers, Thomas McKenty, Michael John Neal, Ari Wilkins. We've done record sources. We've done stuff inside like newspapers, court history, and things like that. One of the other things that happened that was a boon is that ProQuest, who works with Ancestry to let libraries have Ancestry, ProQuest opened up the Ancestry Library Edition so far for this entire pandemic, basically, and now all the way through the end of December. So you can access the Ancestry Library Edition at home with your library card. And then, of course, the email reference just went out the window. And then these individual consultations, as I mentioned, we still had our newsletter going. But here's our partnerships. The pandemic way is what I'm calling this. Okay, of course, the Clayton Library Friends. Purchase of the materials for the shelves continued, and of course continues. So we talked about those new books. There's a link to new titles from the library catalog, and the list will go up when we have control again of our webpage. We can see that the face-to-face increase through the beginning and then continually. So in January, they're currently, I think in this year or the whole year, the whole fiscal year, 33 meetings with an average of 50 people. With plenty of topics and presentations by people from sitting in the audience, by the talent that's available through the Clayton Library Friends, and then also bringing people in, and then we've done some stuff also. So it has been an absolutely, as it has been my entire 15 years here, a very wonderful, loving, if you will, partnership. And so I'm very grateful. Jessica, the face-to-face is an example. Jessica did using Masonic Grand Lodge proceedings, you know, so the breadth of education that's been available through the two of us, and the camaraderie and the sharing and the learning has been just wonderful. And then, so of course, our family search, our restricted images from family search, again, through email, that was one of the biggest questions that we could get is, could you send us those restricted images through the email? And so now, again, our partnership, we are open, so you can see those restricted emails, the restricted images. And then of course, with family search, our partnership does continue. So in addition to when we talk about the Ancestry Library Edition that's open now, because now we're sort of scaling back. So it's almost like, what can I do at home again? You know, I invite you to go through Family Search, the Family Search Digital Library, which houses more than 500,000 books. I can tell you that you need to go to search and then click on books individually, because the books are not returned when you do that magic box general search. Okay, so then we opened. Okay, we opened. That was pretty exciting. Everybody was pretty excited. And what happened is when we opened is, everybody, we really had this influx of people, and everybody was so glad to be there. And during the time period that we were closed, we finished out the renovation of the library. So there were some changes that we had. We have our, what I call right now, are behind the plastic, which is becoming more, normal than odd, our new reference desks. So some of you might remember that when you walk right in, you saw those two sort of general desks that everybody has at home. We now have a new desk, which we do are covered in plastic, but that's where we do our services. And then here is what the floor looks like now for those of you that have not been in there. And I would like to mention that the renovation, a lot of the technology, in fact, all the technology that you'll see, and some additional things were supplied by funds from the Clayton Library Friends. So this renovation was a combination between the library and the Friends, but the technology that we have, and I'll show you a screen in a second, something that's super cool, is from the Friends. So this is what the floor looks like now. I took this yesterday. It's super cool, it's super bright, it's super pretty. Don't worry, the books are the same way they were, okay? Nothing's changed. Everything's organized like it was. It's just that everything looks a little more beautiful. This is where you notice the research tables that we always have. We got new carpet going down there, so everything's there. One of the super cool things that we have is this is our consultation table. Again, supported by the Friends and purchased by the Friends. What this will enable people to do is as you see here, this is Rodney and Melissa, but sit there together and have a consultation for an hour with a customer. If you come with 2 or 3 people and you don't want to, use your one single laptop, you can sit at this table. You can decide on your own social distancing. Masks are strongly encouraged at the library. Temperatures are strongly encouraged at the library. We wear masks when we're out on the floor, when people are there. So if you come with a group, that's your choice, but these are consultation computers with big monitors. And so we have found this very helpful in working with people and then offering it to customers that come as a group. And then, of course, we still have our slide scanner upstairs. So again, purchased from the Friends a number of years ago, but it is a big boon to people like myself, and I'm sure almost the majority of us sitting in this presentation that have those slides and are tired of holding them up to the light and squinting to see what they are. This machine will save them to a flash drive, and then you can do what you like with them. So you can get them off those slides. So we have that upstairs, and you're more than welcome to call us to schedule it, and we can teach you how to do that. Again, from the Friends. One of the other unique materials I think that is often forgotten about, I mean, we know that there's unique microfilm, we know that there's unique books, you know that we have databases. We have about 40 drawers of vertical file material that's organized by surname. There really is no, it's not digitized, it's material that's here. It can be pedigree charts, it can be letters, it can be copies of documents. So this is a unique source of material that you won't find anyplace else, and we invite you to come down and see that, because now we're open. And one of the most interesting things that I heard when I was out on the desk, and granted, I'm not out on the desk as I much would like to be, social butterfly that I am. Why am I an administrator? But anyway, not everything is on the internet. That was one of the biggest things when people walk through the doors again, was to say, I found stuff, but not everything's on the internet. And that's kind of interesting, because historically, and in some of my historic presentations, I've mentioned, you know, one of our challenges is the internet and getting people in, you know, from using the internet. And that is one success story, or one challenge that has sort of ironed itself out a little because of the pandemic. The interest in what's on the shelves, the interest in the knowledge base that we have and coming in is really very different when people first started walking in. So now, of course, because we have this surge, we've kind of slowed down again, but it's just been super, super interesting. So we invite you to, and I have a slide, we invite you to come and visit us, because we have things that you're not finding out there. One of the cool things, you know, and I like to, you know, usually talk about a couple of the odd things that have happened. So over on the left side there, we had an owl family. And we had, of course, the parents who have killed every single squirrel on the property, except for maybe one that our general services, Mr. Elmore, feeds. And then they had babies. And we saw no other birds or any squirrels or anything, but Joy, our collie, you can see it on the tree up there, took a picture. So that was kind of exciting and kept us a little entertained for a while. And then recently, it's kind of hard to tell, but in that trailer is a cow, a little calf. So a couple weeks ago, Joy texted me. It was a Friday, I think, because I was at home. And Joy texted me and she said, "You'll never guess what happened when I went out into the parking lot." Well, that's the last thing a manager wants to hear. Okay, you know, I immediately go to incident report, you know, all kinds of stuff. And then she says, "There was a calf running down Caroline." This, you know, this is text. "You'll never guess what happened to me in the parking lot." Nothing else. Okay, what? Then the second text and the third text come. Apparently a calf, and I don't know, we haven't really found anything else about it, was running down Caroline, and they corralled it across the street in the Holocaust Museum. You can, in the parking lot, you can tell it's the Holocaust Museum because you can see that slanted slope, which is the roof that had the memorial towns on it. So that happened. That was kind of exciting, you know. I mean, you know, we're always looking for something to break up the day. You know, we're here 8 hours, 9 hours actually. So to break up the day. So let's talk about moving forward first, okay? Health first, obviously health first. We follow the mayor, we follow the county, we follow the direction of the administration. Right now, there has been no restrictions put back on us. We are still operating at 100%. Which actually we never reach at 100% because 100% is about 125 people in that building, except on Genealogy After Dark nights, which we will still have something. So watch for extended hours, a few extended hours in October, like we always have. Our programming, no turning back. I think everybody, face to face, everybody that's doing Zoom knows that there's no turning back, which is why we're trying to do this today and see how we can function. we're not functioning too well because I'm using 2 computers. So we'll figure it out. We're going to, of course, as I mentioned, more social media engagement. The Clayton Library Friends have a Facebook page where you can always see our strongest social media engagement right now. We are working with, we have some YouTube videos. This presentation will be mounted up on the Clayton Library Friends YouTube page. The library has some YouTube pages. Again, remember, we work for a city entity government, so that takes a while to get up there. We will continue our consultations and customer service. Just because we're open does not mean that you can't call us. We can do it on the phone. We could do it virtually. If you want to set an appointment with one of us, you can do that in person. So consultations are here to stay. Okay, and so what do we do in our strategic planning? So our strategic planning, my strategic planning, our unit strategic planning, our planning with the Friends really has kind of changed because we wanted to do more virtual. So we've got that. So what does it mean moving forward? Where do we need to play outside of the usual places? Maybe that's something, you know, and begin to branch out and getting people to know about us, and some other things that we need to sort of just brainstorm about. We're working hard on succession planning because after 15 years, you know, look, I know, you know, you can't blame me for retiring. You can blame me to go for another job, but you can't blame me for retiring. It's not happening that soon. Okay, don't worry. And then, of course, we're writing a lot of procedures because in addition to that, I have never been very document driven. And so we now have a librarian 5 who is my direct manager, who fortunately is document driven and writing procedures, which is a good thing because if I fell over tomorrow, you know, who would know how to deal with this? So, okay. And then of course the brainstorming, and then being responsive to the community that we serve. My job is to make sure that we are the best library with the best team that I can create, okay? And that we can create as a team. Our job is to help you find your family, okay? By showing you the resources, by discussing your research and guiding and working with you. Your job is to come in to let us help you. Your job is to figure out what it is you want to know, and whether you call us, whether you want a virtual appointment, whether you walk through the doors, that's why we're there. And so your job is to help you, So what I'd like to do now is I'd like, you know, this is my emotional side, okay? I'd like to thank the Friends and the board and the members for the continued support of me. I mean, it's been a great ride, 15 years. I'd like all the volunteers, all the members, all the former staff that might be with us today, and everybody that's still over in the building. I'm so grateful because it's not about me. It's about what we do as a Friends member, as a team member, and as a community member. Everybody spreads the word about us, and I'm really super glad for that. And most importantly, all the support that we've received in the last 12 to 15 months. It has been amazing. And so all of us at the library are super grateful for everything that all of you do. And of course, with that, it's the annual cat photo, you guys. Okay, wait a minute, let me get the cat photo here over here. There's the annual cat photo, okay? So your ancestors are waiting. This is Lucy. Lucy has a sister Stella, but Lucy, she's Princess of the Amazons, like Wonder Woman, and she's inviting you to come to the party, okay? Got a box that happened to say that the other day. And so anyway, so there's our phone number. We'd love to have you come in person, in the phone, give us a virtual meeting. We're available for presentations. I didn't put our email address up there, I'm sorry. Our email address is cla.reference@houstontx.gov. It's cla.reference@houstontx.gov. And so we'd love to have you come to the party, and we would really like to help you find your ancestors. And with that, we give it back to, oh, sorry, are there any questions in the chat? Sorry, there are questions in the chat. What are the questions in the chat?
Okay.
I suppose I could open the chat, but.
Go ahead, Nick.
So the one one I see there, Bernice Mistrot is asking, are restricted images at Family Search still available by email request?
The answer is yes. If you can identify are the restricted images still available? The answer is yes. We need you to identify the image and identify the source. So yes.
Okay, and then there's another one there. Please confirm current days / hours of opening Monday through Friday or Tuesday through Saturday, question mark.
Sorry, that's my fault. I did have it up there. It's Tuesday through Saturday. Thank you for asking that. Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4. Okay, Bernice, I wanted to maybe pull back on the restricted images. Stephen and I have had conversations about that, and I'm not sure if we're still doing restricted images because you can come in. Now, I also know that family history centers are open again. They were closed, and so you can go to a family history center also. Bernice, call me, or anybody call me and ask me. I might need to pull back on that answer.
So I just wanted to say that I'm wearing my Fairbanks family hat. I don't think you can read it, but I brought it partly because they're having their reunion today, but also because occasionally I get a little chilly here. So if you do come, do bring a sweater.
I'm really hot up here. It's really warm up here.
It's, you know, I guess I just run on the cool side.
You should really see Nick and Jessica. They look like they're part of a television production unit. What's another question, Nick?
Oh, well, I have one I can read.
Okay, great.
It's from S. Hoover. Are there still issues accessing certain resources from inside the library because of the IP address issue?
Yes. So we've had trouble accessing Family Search restricted images on the public computers, on the hardwired computers. So what's happening is we're trying to work with the city and the IT people at the city to check our IP addresses. So we have one consultation computer that you can access the restricted images on. Now this could change daily too. So we try to make sure that you can access the restricted images at least on one computer.
And what, I wasn't familiar with that. So what are some of the resources that are giving you difficulty right now?
I'm sorry?
What are some of the resources that have this issue?
Well, we go back and forth inside the library. We go back and forth with how to access Ancestry. And inside the library, we're going back and forth with how to access the restricted images from Family Search. But Stephen is on it, and we're trying to work with city. So right now, it's the one computer that we can get that has the images, the one consultation computer. And then when you're in the library, I don't remember whether you have to hook into Ancestry for the in the library one or the remote one. But we can get you in. So, and it could change tomorrow. It's super frustrating. It's just super frustrating. What else you got?
So Mara Wilson says, thank you for all the hard work you've done over the past 18 months. And Randy echoes that. Thanks, Sue, to you and all your dedicated and knowledgeable staff who've gone above and beyond normal duties under unusual circumstances.
We appreciate that. We appreciate your support. I mean, you know, and we appreciate you still wanting to use us and not completely abandoning us. I mean, we know that family history researchers can be rabid. Like I said at the very beginning, woke up at 3:30 in the morning, pandemic or no pandemic, they're going to try and find the answer. So, anything else? Nick?
Mazel says, Sue, I love your enthusiasm and the great people you have working with you. And Liz Hicks says, thank you for all you do for genealogists. Susan Moyer says, agree, Sue and the whole staff are amazing. Thank you. Did we miss the volunteering update question?
The volunteering update question is there's no update on volunteering. We're going to, we're trying to find some projects that can be done at home, or remotely, because right now the library is not letting volunteers in. I don't understand. To me, it's a little counterintuitive considering we're letting customers in, but I don't really know what the difference is. But then again, I sit in my chair and not in the big chair.
So
my direct
couple of-
supervisor has given me a lot of opportunity.
couple more kudos.
Thank you, everyone.
S. Hoover says, congratulations to Mitch on the promotion to full-time. And Elsa Schmeider says, thank you for all you do, Sue, and the CLF board. I can't wait to go back to the library. So why wait, Elsa?
Yeah,
Come on
Elsa,
down.
come on in, come on down, come on down. So I appreciate you going through the fact that I forgot to put Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
So by the way, we are here, in case you were wondering.
Who's we are here?
We're at the library.
We're at the library because this is a board thing in here. Yeah, but I mean, we're going back over to the other side.
Yes.
Yeah, back to the other side. Oh yeah, by the way, let's talk about that super quick, which is probably, again, the worst consternation that I've heard in a long time, separate from bringing, you can use pens in the library. There's no more snack area. Okay, I'm sorry. And at this, I've had a bunch of questions so far already since we reopened because of bus trips. And we can't open up the carriage house for groups yet to eat lunch. Okay, so if you're coming, and I really don't mean to be flippant when I say that, you're probably going to have to eat in your car. Okay, or there are restaurants down the street, or we have the cement picnic tables outside. We needed a meeting room inside. It's almost as bad as, I mean, there's been I think a couple things I've done. the snack bar was really
So I find sitting outside a few minutes quite refreshing.
Thank you, Nick.
When my bones are chilled, it feels good.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Anything else? Linda
Here's
wants
a
to come
question
back.
maybe for Linda.
Okay, good. Yes. All right. It's time for Linda.
So
Thank you,
Linda,
everyone. Thank you, everyone.
So what do we do?
You're going to touch this one.
I'm going to touch this
Yes, all
one.
you got to do is touch that one.
so Linda, one question for you is Rosemary Mullen would like to know, when might we have CLF meetings in the carriage house again?
You got the answer.
Well, the answer to that is when the library starts, when the library opens up the meeting rooms. The library has not opened up the meeting rooms at all. We just happened to be in here today because I've got 3 board members because that was an administrative meeting. We're not opening it up to community groups. The carriage house isn't open. The meeting room over in the library isn't open. So again, that's an administrative decision.
One more for Sue. The foyer, it looks like there's a table in the foyer. Patsy McLaughlin asks, what's going on in the foyer?
There's a table in the foyer because that's where our security guard is sitting. We have security at this point. That might not go forever, but we have a security guard now. So you can hit, I know.
Okay, I'll go back and move it.
Okay,
You ready?
are you ready?
All right.
Now, okay, can they see you?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, it's at the right
Although
spot. It's at the right height.
I see me, but I'm fuzzy. Is that me or y'all?
It's just,
I guess I'm just fuzzy.
maybe you-
So I should have learned by now not to follow Sue because that's a deadly position to be in. Thank you, Sue, for that great presentation. You know, I've told friends about the fact that Clayton Library Friends is, its sole purpose is to support Clayton Library. And the library has been closed for more than a year. So what does the Clayton Library Friends Board have to do? Well, like Sue and her staff, who's taken advantage of this time and really through creativity, continue to provide service and make the library even better. Well, I wanted to let you know what your board has been doing during this period of time, in addition to the regular things that they do. And I also wanted to just reintroduce you to the board, because since we don't come and go and see each other, some of you may not know who's on the board. So wanted to tell you, Kathleen Dickerson is our secretary. She captures our our lively board meeting minutes so that we have that history, and couldn't function without her, and to make sure we get everything done. Fidel, who is Director of Social Media and Technology, is our website manager, and I hope that you go to the Clayton Library Friends website regularly. There's a lot of information there. And Fidel, I don't know if you all have worked, those of you who've worked in large organizations and worked with the IT department, but I have never encountered anybody as fast as Fidel is in responding to IT questions and needs. He is spectacular, and he's done it for a lot of years for us. Linda Hayes, who is here with us today, but she wouldn't come up and be on camera, has been our Director of Correspondence for many years. Linda responds to any correspondence that we get, but she writes the most wonderful personal thank you letters for all of our donations, and keeps a personal connection between our organization and our members. Mary Barrow is our new member of the board, and she is the second vice president for development. Well, there's not been able to be a lot of fundraising in this time period, but Mary has been coming up with great ideas to bring in new revenue, and you're going to hear about a couple of those in a little while. Randy Pace, many of you know, who's been on our board for a long time, is our Director of Public Relations, and he brings a wealth of background and knowledge that makes our organization really focused on history, and it's great to have him. Risa Hennings is serving as treasurer in a second stint. She did it a few years ago. She develops our budget. She pays the bills. She makes sure that we are financially secure and solvent, and keep things right on track. And she communicates with our financial counselors so that the organization is financially strong. We inherited a wonderful financial position, and we are dedicated, and she is dedicated to making sure that that position continues. This is Barbara Richards and her husband. Barbara this year has been our volunteer coordinator. Again, we couldn't do a lot of the typical kind of volunteering, and so Barbara has been doing some other functions that I'm going to talk about in a little while, but helping to make sure our administrative structure is like Sue was talking about, that we have things in writing to make sure that our organization is strong moving forward. And I don't know what they're eating, but it does look good. And Jessica, who is here with us and you see here, is in addition to her face-to-face responsibilities and her presentations that she does for us, is first vice president for memberships. And in addition to that, for the second year in a row, she's been serving the board participant for the nominations committee. And she's going to talk to you in just a few minutes. I got a couple more. Of course, you know Nick, who's being director today. And he's the person who's developed the programming that we've had for the last couple of years. And, think back to all the great speakers we've had and the variety of speakers. And that's because Nick has done that for us, in addition to working with Jessica on face-to-face. And you'll talk about that a little bit. And so what I wanted to tell you is that for me, it's been an honor to be a part of an organization that's over 30 years old and is completely run by volunteers, past and present. And much of our history and policies are stored in the shared memory of current and former board members. We do also have some records in the Clayton House, but the unexpected lockdown of the library and Clayton House for an extended time due to the pandemic resulted in a lack of access to our own records for a while. That, coupled with the unexpected turnover in the board presidency in November of 2019, highlighted the need for a more robust infrastructure that can be accessed via the internet and not just dependent on paper copies of things. So in addition to all of their regular duties, and each board member has significant regular duties, we've been working on securing the administrative infrastructure by documenting processes, updating policies, and working to make them available to all current and future board members using internet platforms. Now, I know that sounds incredibly dull, and I guess it is, but if you're going to keep a volunteer organization running, it's really important to have those things in the background. And we are striving to ensure continuity by making the handoffs between board directors more efficient and effective. And so one of the things behind the scenes, and Barbara Richards has been the one who's been championing this, is that we've been updating all the job descriptions, and we've been developing written workflow charts of key processes that involve more than one board member. And this makes it easier to function, and it'll make it easier to function in the future. And oh, I have one more thing I want to say. He almost did it, but John Doro did not send in his picture. John Doro is Director of Acquisitions, and he was sneaky and didn't send in his picture, but I'm not going to forget him. John, I know you're on the call somewhere. John, there he is. Hello, John. There's his picture. Now you can see him. Okay, so you're not sneaky. But I want to recognize the spectacular ongoing work that John does as our Director of Acquisitions. He works with Sue and the staff. And you know, the collection that Sue talked about, the spectacular collection, to purchase all those thousands of books every year. And during this past year, John Doro is the one that makes that happen from our side. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of knowledge, and we couldn't function without you. So thank you, John. Not going to forget you. So next, I think next is Jessica. Sorry, see, I'm getting confused.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's great to be on this side. It's kind of weird, but oh, I should fix the camera. Yeah. Okay. So one thing we wanted to discuss and bring up as new business today is I've been inspired with everything that Sue has shared about where the library's been in this very difficult time, but also where the library is going in the next couple of years. And we want to support that with CLF by making sure every one of our members has an opportunity to serve in a way in our committee. So we'll be sending out within the next week, watch your email boxes, people who are members, you'll be getting a committee interest survey. We want to facilitate having people join our board, and the best way to get plugged into those volunteer opportunities are serving on a committee. We have lots of different functions that we want to support with committee membership. That would be a finance treasurer's committee that can maybe help with QuickBooks. So if you have those skills, we would love to have you join our team. Also, if you want to be involved with programming, you can come and help on that committee and help support Nick as he makes decisions on who is speaking, what the topics are, and facilitating face-to-face technically, and just in the idea and brainstorming sessions. Also, there's several different committees. We will send those out in an email, so look for that. There'll be a link to go and fill out your interest, and you'll be receiving a call from the nominating committee just to get you plugged into the process of serving. If you've been missing your volunteer time at Clayton, this is one way to invest back in an organization. But when things are back to normal, you can do both, because we're going to allow any kind of things, allow you to do committees remotely with all this new technology we've become accustomed to this year. So watch those email boxes and reply back, because we would love for you to be on a committee with us.
Okay, so I am going to share my screen briefly here to tell you a little bit about what's coming up. Of course, this is what you can look at when you're down here at the library. this is what we're doing right now, but coming up Thursday, August 19th is the genealogy face-to-face. So I'm pointing people to what's called the events portion of our website. This is a great reference tool. I use it all the time, and I hope you will too. We have Folds Research Basics coming up on Thursday, August 19th. So you click down here where it shows details, and you can see that Jessica is going to be our speaker. She's going to do an encore presentation. Then you can go back and you can see what else is coming up. Genealogy Online Ancestry Library Edition. And you can see where it says here that this is a Clayton Library Presents event, which is put on by the library staff. And to register, you have to register, you have to click, and you can go to the details page, or you can click here to register. And then after that, in September, we've got Lineage Society books coming up at Genealogy Face-to-Face. And that is going to be presented by the Assistant Branch Manager, Melissa Hayes. So we're looking forward to that one. So please do check the events page and register if you haven't already for Genealogy Face-to-Face, and you definitely need to register for each individual Clayton Library Presents events. Keep in mind that Genealogy Face-to-Face is a 1 o'clock start time, and Clayton Library Presents is a 2 o'clock start time. Face-to-Face is on Thursdays, and Clayton Library Presents is on Fridays, selected Fridays, not always the same dates of the month. So check the calendar frequently. Thank you all. So any other comments?
We have 2 more things, Nick.
Okay.
So I mentioned earlier that Mary Barrow has had some new ideas for us to offer some services for our patrons. She has been talking with Sue and the staff. And so we have 2 new services that are going to be offered for a fee. It'll be a small fee, but anyway, it will provide some revenue for Clayton Library Friends to continue supporting the library. The fee will be lower if you're a member of Clayton Library Friends. So one is research requests, and the other is an online beginning genealogy class. So it's going to give you a little bit of information about each of those.
Okay. So the research requests, you know, when I talked about earlier about how we became sort of graduate assistants, once we opened up, that kind of in-depth, deep research stopped. We can't support it. So the Friends, fortunately, has very nicely stepped up and said, okay, well, I bet that we can support research requests. So that's one thing that we're going to be working on, and that very well. Jessica, will that be part of the volunteer survey? Maybe. Okay. So when we start putting together that team, you'll find out about it through emails. Secondarily, another thing is we would love to be able to offer, we as a library, beginning genealogy classes, a succession of beginning genealogy classes. We're pretty tapped out in terms of that service, in terms of doing presentations. So once again, the Friends have stepped in to maybe engage a professional lecturer, maybe through teams from the Friends. So those are the 2 development projects that are coming up that you should look for.
Right. Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
So in those will provide opportunities. We'll be needing volunteers from our membership to help make those services go forward. So you'll be hearing more about that going forward. Well, I want to thank again, Sue, for taking us down memory lane and bringing us through. I mean, it's just amazing to think back all of the changes that have happened and how incredibly resilient the library and the library staff has been through this whole time. And I know that we're proud of them. And I was just thinking while Sue was talking, I would like for some of the Houston Public Library Administration to hear this same presentation, because I think it's really impressive what's been done. Please join us on November 13th for our final meeting of the year. It's our annual meeting. Patty Gillespie is going to be our speaker on providing long lost family the indirect way, finding the ancestors of F.N. Raymond. And that will also be the time for our annual election. And there will be a couple of small bylaw changes we'll be asking you to vote on that came out of all those job descriptions we changed. So we thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you via Zoom for sure in November, and one of these days, face to face, really. Thank you all. You can end the meeting.